I'm Vinny Politan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And one of the biggest stories of last year, the biggest true crime story, was the disappearance and the murder of Gabby Petito. We all remember what this story was about. And then one of the questions I want to talk about right now is why we were collectively so invested in this case. And a big part of it was the way Gabby Petito was living her life. She was living life on social media. She was blogging and video recording and showing us and taking us along with her in this amazing adventure. And the adventure was, traveling around the country, doing all these exciting things and living the van life. And I think because of how open she was with who she was and what she was doing, when she suddenly disappeared, it became, well, what happened? What happened? She's showing us everything about her life, but what was going on here? What happened to Gabby Petito? Well, she showed us what she wanted to show us, because there was a part of her life that was hidden from all of us. And that was her life with Brian Laundrie when the cameras weren't rolling. I mean, Brian Laundrie played the part on video. I mean, you see, he's like strumming the guitar and, making some nice food and posing for those pictures in the most beautiful places around the country with the young woman that he said he loved. But that's not what was really happening here. I mean, what was really happening was hidden from all of us until we saw the body cam video of what was really going on in the life between Gabby and Brian Laundrie. And the ending to all this is incredibly tragic. But this investment, I think for a lot of people like me, we tended to look at this case, people older like me, through the eyes of Gabby's parents. Because here they were, the parents of this young woman who was missing. And people are wondering, what are they thinking? And you saw and you heard the desperation in their voices. There was a level of anger. There was a level of frustration. But the love that they had for their daughter was so large. And that's what was driving them in this search. And I think for people like me, you're like, I feel so bad for those parents. What can we do for them? And America responded. And people were looking for clues and ended up finding some clues and some tips. But here's the other part of this story that I think really got under the skin of everyone. And it was the reaction of the other parents, the parents of Brian Laundrie. They became the focus of everything because Brian was gone. He wasn't showing himself publicly. He disappeared. We know what happened to him. Everyone's looking for Gabby. And these parents just remained silent and said nothing, which is fine. You don't have to talk to me. Don't talk to the media. But when the girlfriend of your son, right, is missing, and you say absolutely nothing to those parents, that speaks volumes when you are saying nothing. Like, why wouldn't you say something? Why wouldn't you pick up the phone? Why wouldn't you answer the phone? Why wouldn't you tell them that their daughter was missing? And that was the part of this story that is still lingering tonight, because Gabby Petito's parents have sued Brian Laundrie's parents. And what they want to uncover here really is, what did you know and when did you know it? Let's take a look at the timeline of this entire story. It begins July 2nd. Brian Laundrie and Gabby went on this amazing road trip. Amazing for those of us watching on social media, an absolute horror for Gabby Petito. August 12th, police respond to the calls of the domestic dispute. We've seen those body cam videos out in Moab, Utah. Then it is August 27th. That's believed to be the date when Brian Laundrie murdered Gabby Petito. It is believed on that same day that Brian Laundrie sent a text to Gabby's mother in which he referred to Gabby's grandfather, Stan, by his name. Completely bizarre. She would never do that. And it's believed that on August 28th, that Brian Laundrie advised his parents that he had murdered Gabby Petito. On that same day, the Laundries spoke with an attorney. In the lawsuit, it says, while Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt were desperately searching for information concerning their daughter, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie were keeping the whereabouts of Brian Laundrie secret, and it is believed they were making arrangements for him to leave the country. These are the allegations in the lawsuit, but there's a lot more to it. Let me bring in Court TV crime and justice reporter Joy Lim-Nakrin, who is joining us tonight in studio. Great to see you, Joy. I know you've gone through this.
Yeah.
You've made phone calls. You've gone through the entire case. What else does the lawsuit say about the Laundries, Brian's parents?
Yeah, I mean, well, it goes into a lot of detail about how the Laundries allegedly tried to hide this really important information from the Petito family, that their daughter was dead, and obviously that their own son was responsible for it. You know, you mentioned the important date of August 27th. That is when it is believed that Gabby Petito was murdered. The following day, August 28th, is when it's believed that Brian actually told his parents. Well, after that, on September 10th of 2021, according to this lawsuit, in an effort to avoid any contact with Nicole Schmidt, on or about September 10th, Roberta Laundrie blocks Nicole Schmidt on her cell phone, such that, quote, this is according to the lawsuit, neither phone calls nor texts could be delivered, and she blocks her on Facebook. And then after that, on September 14th, 2021, there's a search going on for Gabby. And according to the lawsuit, says, with full knowledge that Gabrielle Petito had been murdered by their son, Christopher Laundrie, and Roberta Laundrie, through their lawyer, issued the following statement. It is our understanding that a search has been organized for Miss Petito in or near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. On behalf of the Laundrie family, it is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family. Remember, that's September 14th. And on August 27th is when it's believed that Gabby was murdered. And then, we look back to what happens after that, right? After we already know that, in retrospect, that Gabby has died on August 27th. And on September 16th, and you're looking at these communications, the Petito family makes an appeal to the public, to the whole world, including to the Laundrie family, basically saying, please, anyone with information, including the Laundrie family, please help us find our daughter. Now listen to what Joseph Petito, Gabby's dad, tells the world, and bear in mind that it's already been 2 weeks since his daughter died. Let's listen.
I mean, just look at the picture if you can. Memorize it. Look at the facial features, and memorize that phone number that you're seeing there too, because we need everyone's help. We don't have a lot of information. So we got a really big area from Wyoming all the way down to Florida and 2,500 miles to that's just the road. Forget everything that's on either side, right? So we need you guys to memorize their face. And if you see something, call that tip line. If you see someone while you're hiking and that looks like Gabby, give her your phone, call your folks, something. We need everybody's help.
So 3 days after that, on September 19th of 2021, that's when the FBI announces that they found remains, which later do turn out to be Gabby Petito's. Let's listen.
FBI personnel, in coordination with our partners at National Park Service, the Forest Service, Teton County Sheriff's Office, and Jackson Police Department, have been conducting an investigative activity in the vicinity of the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. Earlier today, human remains were discovered, consistent with the description of Gabby Petito.
So just imagine, Vinny, I mean, all of this whole time, the dad's out there asking for everyone's help. FBI is making this announcement. This whole time, according to this lawsuit, the Laundrie parents knew that their son had killed Gabby.
Unbelievable. And they said nothing. They said nothing. So I understand the outrage of all of that, and we were outraged when this was happening. I couldn't understand how parents could remain silent, knowing that someone that was living in their home someone they had taken under their roof. And like Gabby's parents were like, okay, yeah, you're living with the Laundries, and we trust them, and they broke that trust. But what's the legal claim in this suit, right? Like, you can be angry, you can be outraged, but ultimately you need some sort of legal theory to sue them. So what are they alleging?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially pain and suffering and mental anguish. From the lawsuit itself, it says as a direct and proximate result of the willfulness and maliciousness of Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt had been caused to suffer pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, loss of capacity for enjoyment of life experienced in the past and to be experienced in the future.
It is so sad, but I understand why this lawsuit was filed, and we shall see where it goes. Joy Lim Nakrin, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's bring in our think tank tonight. Joining us in Stamford, Connecticut, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crosland is with us. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, family law attorney Jennifer Brandt, and in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Albert Wunsch III. Great to see everyone tonight. This is a heartbreaking case. This is a case that was the biggest true crime story of last year for many different reasons. But let's get to this lawsuit, Darnell. Let's get to this lawsuit. You've got parents that are angry, parents that are heartbroken. What do you think? What sort of legal obligations, legal duty did the Laundries owe to the Petitos?
So thanks for having me tonight. And the first thing that comes to my mind is criminal liability. And that's a high goal. And when I look at this lawsuit and I listen to this case, it reminds me of the OJ case with Ron Goldman. What you couldn't do in a criminal setting, you can do in a civil setting. And in this particular case, it seems like the Laundrie families, if this was criminal, will be an accessory after the fact. But because we can't get that, because it's hard to establish that, they are at least liable for the pain and suffering that the family has endured. And so when look at the lawsuit, they're suing for pain and suffering, mental anguish. And I think if the Laundrie's family knew exactly what they were doing and they were hiding this and putting this family through what they had to go through, they're definitely liable for, in a civil realm, for pain and suffering that they had to suffer.
Jennifer Brandt, on the one hand, you have parents, right? Our first thing is about our kids. But in this case, I don't know how you can sit there and remain silent knowing that a young woman who lived under your roof, a woman that you purportedly loved, a woman that your son allegedly loved before he killed her, is just sitting there. Everyone's looking for her. You know what happened, and yet you say nothing. Is it enough? Is that going to be enough to drag them into a courtroom and win a case?
Yeah, I'm not so sure I could agree with Darnell on this one. I don't know if it is enough, Vinny. I think you hit the nail on the head. The Laundries, their son was the one that killed Gabby Petito, but it's their son, and they have love for him just like Gabby's parents have for her. I mean, no doubt this is a very tragic situation all around, but the Laundries also ended up losing their child. So it's tragic. And were they the proximate cause of the Petitos' pain and suffering? I think Brian Laundrie was, if he killed Gabby Petito, for sure. But these parents, I'm not so sure that you can draw that connection. And do we want to draw that kind of connection? I mean, yes, here it's a serious, terrible case, as I said, all around. But do we want to put parents on the hook for all the acts of their children, adult children? So I don't know. I think this is a really tough case. It'll be interesting to see what happens here, and if some law is made.
I can't wait for that deposition. I'll be licking my chops during that deposition. Al Wunsch, what do you think here? If in fact, let's say Brian Laundrie, as alleged in the lawsuit, admits things to his parents when he comes back on the 27th or 28th, they immediately call an attorney. Do they have any obligation to reach out to the Petitos, to reach out to law enforcement if they know that there's a body rotting out in the desert somewhere?
Well, first off, happy Ides Eve, everyone out there. I don't think they have a responsibility to do that. And I don't think it necessarily means that the fact that they called a lawyer is necessarily a bad thing. They may be concerned. They may have confronted their son and said, what happened? And he may not have told them. I mean, I have about 3 or 4 vases in my house that are still broken that nobody has confessed to in my house. Okay, my kids don't tell you everything. Okay, and in this instance, if they confronted him,
but Al, big difference here. Big difference.
It is a big difference.
Gabby and Brian get in a van. They drive around the country. Then a couple months later, a few months later, Brian comes back without Gabby. And by the way, it's Gabby's van. She's not there. He comes to his house. You don't think they ask her what happened? And then they just happen to call a lawyer? Or they just look at it and say, oh my goodness, Gabby's not here. We better call a lawyer, versus let's call Gabby's parents and say, is Gabby there? Come on, Al, a little reality here.
They're scared for their son, but they're scared for their son.
Why?
As any
because
parents
they know.
Well, they might have a suspicion of it. Of course they might. I mean, look, you understand, you can look in your kid's eyes and know whether or not they're telling you the truth. And they may have confronted him and he may not have told them the truth. But any smart person at that point says, we have to prepare for the worst. And they contact a lawyer, hoping to God it's not true. And what are you trying to get from these people? They lost their son also.
Some humanity and
that makes it better.
That's what I'm trying to get from them.
What price is decency, Vin? There's no insurance that's going to cover this. What are they going to do? Go after their house? They're going to put them in bankruptcy for this?
Yes.
I mean,
I have to agree with Al on this one. I agree. I think Al is right.
Well, I know you agree. Then let me hear from Darnell. If you agree, let me hear from Darnell. Go ahead.
We have a saying in the legal field, and it's called assuming arguendo. So assuming that the parents knew, because that's what we have to, wait till the depositions. But at this point, assuming they knew, I just finished doing a legal contributing to the Jussie Smollett case. The idea is to follow the money and see if there's money damages. In the Jussie Smollett case, the city was going after all the money that they had to expend trying to solve that situation. In this particular case, assuming arguendo that the parents knew that she was dead, and they went on the air and they made these false cries for help, and they were causing people to continue to look and to seek answers and to give hope when they knew there was no hope, and they caused all this money to be spent and all this pain and suffering to be had. Wouldn't one argue on that side?
I like that. I like that. We're out of time for this segment, but I like that.
This is no way like that.
Why does Al always got to get the last word in? Al, it's over. It's over. We're moving on. You did well, though. Al did well. Jennifer did well. This is a tough issue. This is not going to be an easy case on one side or the other. But Al, I got to rein you in sometimes because we got to get to the next story.